all my students. Hello, how are you all? So here I am, your English facilitator, Hemangi, back again with you, and we are going to continue with our English syllabus for Standard 9. Let's begin with a work of Artifice. That is a poem we are going to handle today. Please open your textbooks to a work of Artifice. Let's read about the poet first. Please have your pens, pencils, whatever you want ready in your hand. Ready? Start. Okay. Marsh Piercy, born on March 31st, 1936, till present, was born in Detroit, Michigan. She is an American progressive activist and a writer. Piercy was the first member of her family to attend college, winning a scholarship to attend the University of Michigan. Okay, that much for the poetess. And now we come to the second last paragraph. Why has the poet chosen the metaphor of a bonsai tree? Bonsai means a loss of growth and freedom. It also implies life without space to grow. Throughout a work of Artifice, an extended metaphor of a bonsai tree has been used. The bonsai tree represents a woman. The poet questions, if women were just materials of interior decoration, women were expected to remain confined to the interiors and do the household tasks. They were expected to understand their limits and remain tightly tied to their responsibilities or their roots. A bonsai tree's roots and branches are pruned and tightly tied so that it does not grow to its real size. Okay? That much for the poetess. Let's read the poem first, the first reading of the poem. The bonsai tree in the attractive pot could have grown 80 feet tall on the side of a mountain till split by lightning, but a gardener carefully pruned it. It is 9 inches high. Every day, as he whittles back the branches, the gardener croons, "It is your nature to be small and cozy, domestic and weak. How lucky, little tree, to have a pot to grow in." With living creatures, one must begin very early to dwarf their growth. The bound feet, the crippled brain, the hair in curlers, the hands you love to touch. Okay, this poem is very short. It has just got 24 lines, but the poet has conveyed a lot to us through these 24 lines. So, what do we actually understand in the poem? It's about a bonsai tree. In short, it's about a bonsai tree which could have been as tall as 80 feet, and but the gardener wanted to keep it in an attractive pot, so he put the tree in a pot, and then very carefully every day he would keep pruning it and trimming it so that the bonsai tree would not grow to its full height. Okay, it is a poignant, this entire poem is a poignant reminder of how living beings can be stunted with hair in colors, or you can even dwarf their growth. So it also means not only women, it also means men, because sometimes we also refer to we also put men in societal roles, that men are not supposed to cry, men are not supposed to feel emotions, men are supposed to be hard and that. But here of course the poetess is talking about a woman. But as far as I am concerned, I also feel that the same thing goes also for men, because we have this habit of putting men also into a societal constraint, and we also restrict their growth. We don't allow them to express their feelings and emotions. So you can see this poem both ways. You can mention that when you're critically appreciating the poem. Okay, so this is basically a poem about women. So shall we start with the detailed explanation? Okay, before I start that, the setting. Now, where do you think that this poem is set? Now, if we look at this entire poem, there is no explicit setting which is mentioned. It could just be a gardener's, there could be a bit, you can imagine that there's a big garden or a gardener's conservatory. So, he picks up a tree and he puts it in, the gardener puts it in a pot, into an attractive pot, and then every day the gardener keeps pruning it, trimming it, so that it becomes beautiful and it becomes a work of art which will get him a lot of money. Okay, so that is also it's an extended metaphor. So basically the bonsai tree is an extended metaphor. Okay, so that is the setting of the tree, the setting of the poem. It is just set, you can say, in a gardener's conservatory. Okay, so that is the setting. Now let's discuss the poem in detail. The bonsai tree. Now what is a bonsai tree? You can write down the meanings while I'm discussing with you. It is a potted plant trimmed to an artistic shape. It is a potted plant trimmed to an artistic shape. So the bonsai tree in the attractive pot could have grown 80 feet tall. The bonsai tree could have grown right up to 80 feet. Okay. And on the side of a mountain till it split by a lightning. So this bonsai tree could have grown to 80 feet tall till it would have been cut out, or it would have been split only by a lightning. Okay, but here the gardener is only trimming it. Now, you might be aware that bonsais and maintaining bonsais is a popular Japanese technique. Okay, it's a Japanese technique in which trees are miniaturized and grown in a pot, and it is considered to be a form of art. To be able to grow a bonsai is also a form of an art. So you can write that down over there. The meaning of bonsai tree, of course, I've given you. But what does it actually represent? It's a Japanese technique. Please write down. Bonsai is a popular Japanese technique in which trees are miniaturized to grow. Trees are miniaturized to grow in a pot, and it is considered to be a form of art. It is considered to be a form of art. Okay. So, but a gardener carefully pruned it. Pruned it means trimmed it. So the gardener has trimmed it, and it is now only 9 inches high. So where it could have been 80 feet, it has been cut and made to 9 inches high. Okay. Every day, as he whittles back the branches, the gardener croons. What do you mean by whittles back the branches? He cuts off the bits with a knife or a scissor. So that tree is there, and then they not only do you prune it, but at the same time on its trunk and all, you cut off with a knife. You ensure that the trunk doesn't grow too much. So he cuts that also. Okay. So croons means to hum a tune in a soft voice. When you're humming a tune in a soft voice, it means it croons it. It is your nature to be small and cozy, domestic and weak. So what is he saying? The poetess is saying, the gardener over here is saying, it is your nature to be small and cozy and domestic and weak. And how lucky, little tree, to have a pot to grow in. So now he's telling the tree that you're so lucky you have a pot to grow in, isn't it? Because had you been out, you would have had to face the heavy rains or the lightning and all. So you're very lucky because you're so protected. Okay, so to have a pot to grow in, with living things, one must begin very early to dwarf their growth. Now, this entire to dwarf their growth, the bound of feet, the crippled brain, the hair in the colors. Now this entire piece I want you all to understand as line numbers 17 to 22. I'll explain this entire poem to you from line 17 to 22. That is, with living creatures, one must begin very early to dwarf their growth, up to the hair in colors. Okay, now what does that mean? The poet has now shifted from the bonsai tree to a more expanded metaphor. Now he is talking, what is the expansion that he is talking about? He is talking about the expansion of the metaphor is now extended to a woman. That a woman must be kept in control at a young age. You must control the women at a young age, so that they, and how do you control them? By binding their feet, by brainwashing them, or by putting curlers in their hair, so that their hair looks curly and wavy and it looks beautiful. Okay, so that is the way you are supposed to bound the women. Now this their bound feet. First of all, I'll give you the meaning. Dwarf means smaller than its original size. Dwarf means smaller than its original size. And bound means restricted with bounds. Means to tie something and to restrict it with bounds. That is the meaning. Okay. Then this thing about bound feet, I especially wanted to tell you, because bound feet is it is a reference to a historical practice which is done in China. Okay, in China, what they do is, when a girl child was born, they would bind her feet ekdam tightly for many years, so that she would have small feet, because small feet, which are supposed to be delicate, and it was more of a status symbol that if a woman has small, delicate, tiny feet, then it's supposed to be a mark of beauty. That is what they used to think in China. So from an early age, they used to bind their feet. And here, of course, it is symbolic of a repression of natural growth. Now here, though it is said for a woman, I would also interpret it, no, I think they used to bind the feet of women, basically. So it refers to that practice. The practice in China of binding the feet. You want to write it down? It is a reference to the historical practice in China, where women's feet were tightly bound from an early age, because tiny feet were seen as a mark of beauty. Here it is symbolic of the repression of natural growth. So here it is symbolic of repression of natural growth. Okay. So that is what we have over here. The crippled brain means, crippled is impaired brain. You don't allow the brain to flourish. Okay, then the hair and the curlers, of course, you understood. And then we come to the last two lines. Line number 23 and 24. The hands you love to touch. Now, what is important over here is, when we are understanding the poem, that if you see the entire narrative till here has been in third person. Okay. The gardener croons and also it is a third person narrative. Here the poet has shifted to the hands you love to touch. Okay, now what are the hands you love to touch means the narrative has shifted to second person. We come to the word you, so you becomes second person. So that is the first thing we notice over here in line number 23 and 24, that the narrative has shifted from third person to second person. And what is he trying to tell you? The poet here is trying to tell you that we appreciate those things which we have manipulated. The gardener here has manipulated the tree. So what is he saying in line? What is the poetess saying in line 23 and 24? She's saying that we love to touch, means you love to touch, the second person, you love to touch those hands which you have manipulated, which you have trimmed according to your liking. So you love to touch those hands. That is, it's very ironic over here. So these two lines, line 23 and 24, are very ironic lines. First of all, the narration has changed from third person to second person, and moreover, the poet is telling us that the hands you love to touch means we love to appreciate those things which we have manipulated according to our liking. Whatever we like, we manipulate, and then we love it. So we love to touch those hands. Okay, so that is the explanation of the poem in detail, and I think we'll stop over here so that you can understand the poem. If you haven't written down, you please write down that line number. I gave you I explained to you what is a the bonsai, that it's a popular Chinese thing. Now I want to give you line number 17 to 22. What is line number 17 to 22? That is from with living creatures up to curlers. I want you all to write that down. Please take it down. Line 17 to 22 is an extended metaphor for a woman kept in control, at a young age. Hyphen. I'm giving you points. You make your own sentences. Binding their feet, brainwashing, or putting curlers in their hair. This is the way we dwarf the growth, means we cut down the growth. Of a tree which was 80 feet, we have brought it down to 9 feet. Okay. Then the next explanation you should write down is bound feet. This is reference to the historical practice in China where women's feet were tightly bound from an early age. Tiny feet were seen as a mark of beauty. Here it is symbolic of repression of natural growth. And then of course the last two lines, line 23 and 24, you should write that the narrative shifts here from the third person to the second person, and it tells us, it is referring to the appreciation that we have for those things that we have manipulated according to our liking. Okay, so we've read about the poet, I've given you a summary, we've read about the setting, that is I've discussed with you. I hope you've taken it down, that it is not explicitly mentioned and all. If not, you can go back to the video. Then I've given you a detailed explanation. Now in the next class we are going to continue with we have a lot more things to do. We have to do all the literary devices used, we have to use the symbolism, we have to do the style of writing. So all that I will do in the next class. Till then I want you all to understand this poem and what exactly the poet is trying to tell us, so that it's easier for you to understand the style of writing and the themes, the significance of the title, all that in the next lecture. So then see you all till then. See you all in my next class, and wishing you all a goodbye. Standard 9, please do learn small chunks. Like I always tell you, learn small bits. The smaller things that you can learn, it will be easier for you to grasp, and you will be able to answer all your questions or references. Once you understand the poem in detail, you will be able to answer any question that is asked to you. And for practice, whatever workbook your school has given you, whatever workbook your teachers have recommended to you, it is my sincere recommendation that you all please work on those workbooks and practice writing. Okay, Standard 9. See you all in my next module, where we'll continue with the work of Artifice. Here's your English facilitator, Himangi, wishing you all a goodbye. Bye everyone.